Outside the window, the rain drummed incessantly, tapping against the massive French-style window panes of the Santorini Western restaurant. I sat in the darkness by the window, facing a portion of cold Wellington steak, its pastry shell soggy from the steam, exactly like my 3-year marriage that had fallen apart. The phone screen on the table lit up and then dimmed and then lit up, flashing with desperate pleas from my father. Lulu, the GU Group suddenly withdrew their investment. All bank loans are frozen because of one word from GU Qingzhou. You must go beg him quickly. The decades-old family business of the Jiang family cannot be destroyed in my hands. I didn't respond, because at that moment, less than 5 meters in front of me, at a round table scattered with rose petals, my husband, the most coldly elegant man in all of Jiang City, GU Qingzhou, was personally cutting foie gras for another woman, that is Shen Man, his first love, the white moonlight in his heart. Shen Man was wearing a snow-white silk dress, her eyes red, like a small white flower swaying in the wind and rain, her weak voice just enough to reach my ears. Qingzhou, for me, you cut off the Jiang family's financial chain. Miss Jiang will hate you to death, won't she? Actually, I don't resent it. As long as I can see you occasionally. GU Qingzhou put down the silver knife, elegantly took out a handkerchief to wipe his fingertips, his eyes always as deep as a cold lake, now showing a tenderness I had never seen before. He opened his mouth, his voice like snow shattering on the ground, chilling to the bone. That's what she deserves. Jiang Li has occupied the position of Mrs. GU for 3 years. It's time to pay the debt. Cutting off the financial chain is just the beginning. I want her to come begging to me herself, kneel down and sign the divorce papers, then get out of my sight. I stared at his profile. Even in such a cruel moment, he was still as beautiful as a marble statue without a trace of warmth. I smiled, slightly curling the corner of my mouth. Beg him. I slowly stood up, picked up the 6-figure Hermes Birkin bag, pushed the chair, and walked toward them. The high heels tapped on the expensive carpet, producing a dull sound. Shen Man saw me, like a frightened little deer shrinking into GU Qingzhou's arms, her voice trembling. Sister Jiang, why are you here? GU Qingzhou looked up, his eyes quickly returning to their usual aloof and disdainful expression. He didn't even change his posture, just coldly stared at me, his tone sarcastic. Jiang Li, you sure are quick to chase after me. You must have seen the Jiang Group's financial report, right? Since you're here, don't waste time. If you want to beg someone, you should have the attitude of begging. He pulled from his suit pocket a stack of documents prepared long ago, casually tossing them beside the greasy plate of food. Sign it, leave with nothing. If you behave, I might consider giving the Jiang family a way out. I lowered my eyes and glanced at that divorce agreement. The 4 words leave with nothing were scrawled like dancing dragons and phoenixes, exuding an air of arrogant confidence. GU Qingzhou, do you think that by cutting off the Jiang family's financial resources, I'll have to kneel and lick your boots? I spoke softly, my tone so calm that even I was surprised. Or what? GU Qingzhou snorted coldly, leaning back and crossing his arms, striking a pose like a ruler. Passing judgment. Jiang Li, stop playing hard to get. Without the GU family, you're nothing. Your social circle, your luxuries, your father's hollow company, all of it will vanish within 24 hours. Do you want to watch the Jiang family go bankrupt? Or do you want to keep the last shred of your pitiful dignity? Shen Man chimed in from the side, her tone full of pity. Miss Jiang, Qingzhou is just too angry. Actually, if you just apologize to Qingzhou and admit that you were the one who schemed to drive us apart before, Qingzhou will help you. I turned around, staring at Shen Man's face full of good intentions, and suddenly raised my hand, splashing the expensive Petrus red wine from the table right into her face. Ah! Shen Man screamed, the red liquid flowing down her snow-white dress. Looking utterly pathetic. Jiang Li, do you want to die? GU Qingzhou stood up abruptly, his face terrifyingly dark, one hand gripping my wrist so tightly it felt like he wanted to crush my bones. Feeling sorry now, are you? I met his gaze without struggling, only giving a cold laugh. GU Qingzhou, for the past 3 years I've played the role of the gentle and virtuous Mrs. GU to perfection. Did you really think I was a spineless kitten? You cut off the Jiang family's funding to force me to yield. But have you ever wondered Who exactly is the mysterious investor L who has consistently injected capital from overseas into the GU Group, securing your international market, GU? Qingzhu's brows furrowed with arrogance. L is a Wall Street legend. What does that have to do with you, Jiang Li? Have you gone mad to the point of delusion? Whether it's delusion or not, you'll soon find out. I suddenly yanked my hand free from his grip, pulling out a neatly folded marriage certificate from my pocket. Under Jiu Qingzhu's shocked and uneasy gaze, I used all my strength with both hands. With a sharp tearing sound, that red document was ripped to shreds by me. I casually flung my hand, and the paper fragments scattered like snowflakes at his feet. Jiu Qingzhu, I'm not signing this agreement not because I refuse to divorce, but because these 4 words, leaving empty-handed, should be for you. I took out my phone, dialed a number right in front of him, my voice cold as ice. This is Jiang Li. Initiate project reversal, withdraw all cross-border investments under the GU Group, and cut off all financial support for GU Group's supply chain in North America and Europe. Within half an hour, I want to see GU Group's stock turn green. After hanging up, I saw an absurd smile appear on Jiu Qingzhu's face. Jiang Li, do you even know what you're saying? That's 30 billion in working capital. Who do you think you are? Before he could finish, his private phone on the table started ringing frantically. The screen displays the words Assistant Chu. Jiu Qingzhu gave me a disdainful glance, picked up the phone, and said in a dissatisfied tone, "Speak." The voice on the other end of the line was so frightened that it became shrill and distorted, and even through the phone, the chaos on the other side could be heard. GU, President GU, something's wrong. Just now, the investment organization L suddenly unilaterally terminated all cooperation and withdrew the entire 30 billion investment. Not only that, the 5 cross-border e-commerce platforms we were in contact with have all taken us down. The finance department says our capital chain has broken. It's completely broken. Jiu Qingzhu's smile froze on his face. The confidence of having victory in his grasp instantly collapsed, replaced by extreme disbelief. He stared at me, his originally cold eyes now filled with horror. What have you done? I've said it before, this play has gone on long enough. I leaned in close to him, looking at his face, slightly contorted with anger and shock, and lowered my voice. Jiu Qingzhu, do you think the Jiang family survives on your charity? No, that was my bet on you. Now, I'm cashing out, from this moment on. It's not you wanting the Jiang family to beg you, but me wanting to see how your Jiu Qingzhu falls from the heights of Jiangcheng into the gutter. Shen Man stood beside us, trembling uncontrollably, not even daring to breathe heavily. I didn't look at them again, turned around, and stepped into the pouring rain. I thought I would feel sad, but when I pushed open the restaurant door and let the cold rain wash away the disgusting perfume scent on me, I only felt an unprecedented sense of freedom. Behind, the furious and panicked screams of Jiu Qingzhu were drowned out by the thunder. This is just the beginning, Jiu Qingzhu. The despair you brought upon the Jiang family, I will return it to the GU Corporation 1,000-fold. The rain poured down like a waterfall. The neon lights outside the Santorini restaurant blurred into hazy patches of color in the mist. I pulled open the car door and stepped into the back seat of the pitch-black Rolls-Royce Phantom. Mac then, in the driver's seat, handed over a dry towel, his voice steady and firm. President Jiang, everything has gone according to plan. The $30 billion in cross-border capital has been fully transferred into the secondary offshore account. The 3 core energy projects of the co-group in North America and Europe, due to the sudden evaporation of the deposit funds, have now triggered the mandatory liquidation procedures by the local regulatory authorities. I took the towel, slowly wiping the raindrops from my hair. The face in the mirror no longer held the gentle, forbearing look of a Mrs. Ko. Instead, it was as sharp as a blade. Ko Tonchu probably hasn't gone mad yet. The arrogance in his blood will make him think this is just a technical glitch. I let out a cold laugh, watching the street scenes flash by outside the window. Back to the studio. I want to personally ring the first death knell for the Co-Group's stock. At the same time, at the scene of the annual celebration party on the top floor of the GU Group half an hour ago, this place was still the pinnacle of power in Jiangcheng's business world. The champagne tower reflected the opulent lights, while celebrities and nobles raised their glasses in celebration. all discussing how Jiyu Qingzhu had swallowed the Jiang family without shedding blood, praising his almost ruthless business tactics. When Jiyu Qingzhu pushed open the heavy oak door of the banquet hall, his suit was slightly disheveled. Shen Man followed behind him, her white dress, stained with red wine, had been replaced with a spare one, but her face remained as pale as paper. President Jiyu, you're finally back. Special Assistant Zhu ran over, sweating profusely, his fingers trembling as he held the tablet. The L organization has completely lost contact. Our cross-border payment interface has been blocked. The 10 billion overseas funds scheduled to be transferred tonight not only haven't arrived in the account but have been reversed. One finance director has already fainted, and the current shortfall has expanded to 40 billion. Jiyu Qingzhu's face was as cold as an iceberg in the polar region. He snatched the tablet, the red K-line chart plummeting vertically on the screen, making his eyes sting. Jiang Li, impossible. He gritted his teeth and growled, his voice revealing a hint of panic that even he didn't notice. She's just a wealthy lady who spends her days gardening and painting, clinging to my side. How could she possibly have the ability to control L, investigate, quickly find out who the legal representative behind L really is? We've already investigated. President Jiyu, Assistant Zhu's voice choked up. The basic structure of L is protected by multi-layered trusts, but just now, right at this moment, the other party's official homepage updated with a move. Jiyu Qingzhu stared intently at the screen. It was an extremely simple website, with a pitch-black background featuring only a single gilded letter L, and below it, a clear sentence appeared. The 3-year lease has expired, and the creditor's rights are being reclaimed. Jiang Le, bang, Jiyu Qingzhu suddenly threw the tablet onto the floor, and the expensive screen immediately shattered into pieces. In the banquet hall, the atmosphere suddenly fell silent. The previously noisy guests exchanged glances, and the air was filled with an uneasy tension. Everyone was clever. From Jiyu Qingzhu's uncontrolled expression, they had already sensed the signs of an empire's impending collapse. Ton Chu, no, it can't be. Shen Man weakly tugged at his sleeve. Jiang Li must have found someone to help her. She wants to scare you, to make you beg her to come back. She loves you so much. How could she bear to let you go bankrupt? Jiyu Ton Chu turned his head and stared at Shen Man, his gloomy gaze making her instinctively withdraw her hand. Love, he recalled the past 3 years. Jiang Li always left a light on for him late at night, always handed him a warm bowl of porridge whenever his stomach ached. He had always thought it was the Jiang family's flattery to cling to the Jiyu group, and he calmly trampled on her dignity, cut off the Jiang family's livelihood, and even publicly appeared with Shen Man on their wedding anniversary. But now, that gentle shadow in his mind is gradually shattering. She doesn't love me. Jiyu Qingzhu's voice seemed forced out from between his teeth. She's playing me. For the past 3 years, she's been observing every capillary of the Jiyu group, searching for my fatal weakness. At this moment, in my secret workshop, the massive curved screen is dancing with countless complex data streams. This place is located on the top floor of an unremarkable office building in Jiangcheng's central business district, without any signage. Yet it is the most formidable radar station in the Asian financial world. Zhongjiang, Jiyu Qingzhu has started leveraging his connections within the banking system. Motion stood behind me, pointing at several active capital points on the screen. He's trying to urgently borrow 5 billion from Zhongxin and Huitong to stabilize the stock price when the market opens tomorrow morning. I sat in the ergonomic chair, my fingertips tapping rhythmically on the desk, a cruel smile curling at the corner of my mouth. Motion, tell those bank presidents, whoever dares to lend Jiyu Qingzhu a single cent tonight should never think of stepping into my dawn fund again. By the way, leak some internal rumors to those top financial reporters about the Jiyu group secretly using pension funds to cover bad debts. Yes, I turned and looked out the window. From this height, the Jiyu group building not far away was clearly visible. It was still brightly lit, like a giant monster trapped on a lonely island, roaring with desperate cries. Jiyu Qingzhu, isn't your greatest pride your composure and self-control? I whispered, my gaze icy cold. Tonight, I will make you live every minute in the illusion of possible survival, only to personally strangle each lifeline. At the banquet scene, the phone rang incessantly. but no longer with congratulations. Instead, it was calls demanding debt repayment and warnings of contract violations. President GU, Director Zhong from the construction bank has turned off his phone. President GU, the foreign supplier demands immediate payment of the entire remaining balance, otherwise, they will file for asset preservation in court at 8 a.m. tomorrow. General Manager Gu Qingzhu stood in the middle of the cocktail party. The cooperative partners who usually treated him with respect were now quietly dispersing. The wealthy young ladies and gentlemen who had once surrounded him were finding excuses to leave one by one, and some even whispered harsh words as they passed by. Have you heard? Jiang Li took away 30 billion, and the GU Corporation is now just an empty shell. TSK. Gu Qingzhu really overplayed his hand this time, driving away the god of wealth over a mistress. Gu Qingzhu's knuckles were clenched so tightly they turned pale. He pushed through the crowd and rushed toward the exit. Qingzhu, where are you going? Shen Man hurriedly grabbed her dress to chase after him but tripped over the shattered tablet on the floor, falling heavily to the ground. Gu Qingzhu didn't even look back. He dashed into the underground garage, frantically calling me on the phone once, twice, 10 times. Finally, the phone was connected. Zhong Le, where on earth are you? He roared in the empty parking lot, his voice echoing between the concrete pillars. If you've had enough fun, get back here right now. That 30 billion isn't yours alone, it's tied to the livelihoods of so many employees. What you're doing is embezzlement, and I'll sue you. On my end of the line, I smiled faintly, through the Bluetooth headset. My voice remained calm and unruffled. Sue me. Gu Qingzhu, every penny of that money is clearly accounted for in the prenuptial agreement from 3 years ago. All funds invested by Jiang Li into the Gu family under the guise of investment, including ownership and withdrawal rights, belong solely to Jiang Li personally. This agreement was drafted by lawyers you hired to prevent the Jiang family from taking advantage of you, and you forced me to sign it. Have you forgotten? The other end of the line fell into a deathly silence. I could hear his heavy breathing, filled with shock and endless regret. Oh, right. I added the final blow. CEO GU, remember to go to bed early tonight, when the market opens at 9. Tomorrow morning, you'll see the second gift I've prepared for you. By the way, don't go back to the Riverside penthouse anymore. It's just been mortgaged to my creditor company. Now, you don't even have a home to return to. I decisively hung up the phone. The screen reflected my cold eyes. The flame of revenge had just ignited. Gu Qingzhu, did you think you would only lose money? No, what I want you to lose is your unbearably arrogant soul. The dawn was faint, but the financial world of Jiangcheng felt as if a bomb had been dropped into the deep sea. The headquarters building of the GU Group, once hailed as the city's landmark, was now shrouded in a gloomy, deathly aura. Security personnel who had not left since last night stood guard at the entrance, their tense expressions blocking opportunistic media. Inside the building, chaos had long since erupted like a boiling pot of porridge. I push open the door to the top-floor conference room of the SK Group, the sound of leather shoes stepping on the marble floor echoing crisply and pleasantly. President Jiang, you've arrived. Hu Ting, the CEO of the SK Group, stands up. He is an ambitious man just over 30, with the sharpness of a businessman in his eyes. He looks at me, a faint, almost imperceptible trace of awe flashing in his gaze. The stock of the GU Group opened at the limit down today, with a locked-in order volume reaching 5 million lots. The whole city is looking for you right now. Gu Qingzhu even camped outside the bank's door all night. I walk straight to the head seat and push a thick stack of documents in front of him. CEO Hua, let's cut to the chase. The core energy projects held by the GU Group have violated cross-border contracts, and their current valuation has dropped to the lowest level. This is the merger plan. I want you to step in under the name of SK and take over their entire downstream distribution channels. Jiang Li, you're trying to push him into a corner. Hu Ting chuckles softly, his slender fingers flipping through the documents. But I don't understand. What good does this do for him? It's not beneficial for him. But it is for me. I raised my eyes, my tone calm. What I want isn't his money, but for the GU Corporation to completely disappear from the map of Jiangcheng. Meanwhile, in the boardroom of the GU Corporation, which offered a panoramic view of the city, the atmosphere had dropped to freezing point. CEO GU, You must give us an explanation. A senior director slammed the table and stood up, spittle flying. 3 billion, a whole of 300 billion. Didn't you guarantee earlier that the Jiang family's land could be revived? Now, Jiang Li has taken all the investment, and the other party has even filed for asset preservation with the court. Our entire energy project is frozen. Jiyu Qingzhu sat in the chairman's seat, dark circles under his eyes, his once crisp suit now looking somewhat disheveled. His cold face was clouded with gloom, his voice hoarse. Jiang Li is just throwing a tantrum. I have copies of the capital chain contracts in her hands. The lawyers are studying their breach of contract. Throwing a tantrum, another director snorted coldly, tossing a freshly printed financial report in front of him. Take a good look. Jiang Li is currently sitting in the boardroom of SK Group. She has allied with Huating and is now buying up our bonds at a low price. Jiyu Qingzhu, the wife you speak of, is now out to take your life. Jiyu Qingzhu's pupils contracted sharply. He stared intently at the silhouette in the photo, Jiang Li, dressed in a sharply tailored dark grey suit, her black hair pulled up in a high bun, calmly signing a contract. That expression was something he had never seen throughout their 3 years of marriage. In his memory, Jiang Li was the shadow who would gently ask, "Are you hungry?" when he returned home late from work, the puppet who would only bow her head in silence when bullied. By Shen Man, to SK, Jiyu Qingzhu stood up abruptly. His movement so forceful that it knocked over the chair behind him. I have to ask her face to face. President Jiyu, you can't leave anymore. Assistant Ju stumbled in, his face pale. The court officials are in the lobby. They said because we are suspected of intentionally transferring assets to evade debts. They now have to seal off this building. And, Miss Jiang left a letter in your private mailbox. Jiyu Qingzhu snatched the tablet from Assistant Ju Ti's hand and immediately opened that email. The email had no content, only an attachment titled Asset Liquidation Notice. The attachment clearly listed the source of funds for all the real estate, jewelry, and luxury cars that Jiyu Qingzhu had bought for Shen Man over the past 3 years, all taken from the trust fund under Jiang Li's name. Jiyu Qingzhu, you used my money to support your first love, and now I'm taking back both the principal and interest. That's only fair, JL, bastard. Jiyu Qingzhu slammed his fist onto the conference table, his knuckles immediately oozing fresh blood. He had never felt so stifled. The humiliation of being played by someone he had always looked down upon was even more unbearable than losing 3 billion. Half an hour later, Jiyu Qingzhu stormed into the main hall of the SK Group. Due to his special status, the bodyguards couldn't stop him for the moment. He rushed to the top floor and was blocked by Mo Shen outside the conference room door. Mr. Jiyu, General Manager Jiang is in a meeting. You don't have an appointment. Mo Shen's face was expressionless, his gaze cold. Get out of the way. Jiyu Qingzhu's eyes were bloodshot as he pushed Mo Shen aside with one hand and directly slammed into the heavy solid wood door in the office. I was holding a cup of Blue Mountain coffee, chatting quietly with Huating. Hearing the loud noise, I didn't even bother to lift my eyelids. Zhongli, Jiyu Qingzhu's voice echoed through the grand hall, carrying suppressed anger. Return the capital, do. You know what legal charges you could face for malicious withdrawal of funds? Does your father's company still want to exist? I set down the coffee cup, slowly turned around, and faced his nearly frenzied eyes. President Jiyu, don't raise your voice like that. This is SK, not your Jiyu Corporation that's about to be sealed off. I curled my lips slightly, my smile not reaching my eyes. As for legal charges, I suggest you first ask your lawyer about the clauses related to invalid proxy agreements and unjust enrichment claims. Oh, and by the way, my father's company accepted a comprehensive investment from Dawn Fund half an hour ago. They're not short on money now, they're short on opportunities to watch you make a fool of yourself. What exactly do you want? Jiyu Qingzhu rushed up to me, planting his hands on the desk, glaring at me with gritted teeth. If it's revenge for me bringing Shen Man to the restaurant, you've already achieved it. I'll compensate for the Jiang family's shortfall. Now, withdraw your hand, and I can let this go. Let it slide. I felt as if I had heard the biggest joke in the world. Laughing so hard that tears were about to spill, I stood up, gently smoothing the wrinkles on my clothes, leaned in close to him, and whispered in his ear, Jiyu Qingzhu, your biggest problem is that you're too arrogant. Do you think you're granting me a chance to forgive? No, the situation now is that I, Jiang Li, formally reject all your attempts at reconciliation. I straightened up and looked at Hu Ting, who was enjoying the drama with great interest. President Hu, it seems President Gu is quite nostalgic about his building. Why don't you tell him who signed the forced liquidation order for that project? Hu Ting shrugged, smiling meaningfully. President Gu, sorry about that. Miss Jiang offered a higher price, so now I'm just carrying out her orders. Gu Qingju staggered. He looked at me as if seeing me for the first time, that cold arrogance gradually being overtaken by despair. Jiang Li, do you really want to cut ties so completely? There's even more to come. I took a gilded invitation from my pocket and gently slipped it into his shirt pocket. Tomorrow's charity auction on the island. Please remember to attend on time. President Gu, I heard Shen Man really likes that blue diamond Ocean's Heart. Didn't you promise to give it to her as a wedding gift before? Unfortunately, tomorrow that diamond will be auctioned off as my trophy. You, see the guest out. I coldly uttered 2 words. The bodyguards immediately stepped forward, forcibly escorting the dazed Gu Qingju out. As the door closed, Hu Ting whistled softly. Miss Jiang, you not only kill the body but also the spirit. You're even more ruthless than I imagined. I sat back down in the chair, gazing at the densely packed high-rise buildings outside the window, my eyes as cold as ice, cruel, compared to how he, back then, to curry favor with Shen Man, stood by and watched the Jiang family get cornered in the stock market. I'm just collecting a bit of interest. I dialed my Shen's number. Initiate phase 2. I want Gu Qingju, at tomorrow's auction, in front of all of Jiangqing's elite, to understand to the bone what it means to have a death in the family. The island's sunset, the dying sun like blood, dyed the shimmering sea into a thick, deep red expanse. A private yacht worth hundreds of millions of dollars was moored steadily beside the private dock. Tonight's charity auction gathered the highest echelons of Jiangqing's, even the nation's elite. Everyone understood clearly that this was no ordinary charity event. It was clearly the first feast to divide the spoils after the collapse of the Gu Empire, and even more so, the official coronation ceremony to return Jiang Li to the center of the whirlpool of fame and fortune. I slipped on a pair of high heels adorned with crushed diamonds, draped myself in a deep purple velvet backless dress, and stepped onto the deck one deliberate step at a time. Ma Shen followed half a step behind me, lowering his voice to report, Chief Jiang, Gu Qingju has indeed arrived. He used the last bit of sentiment from the Overseas Trust Fund to exchange for an invitation ticket. Shen Man is also here, said to be her last hope for a comeback. Then let her be disappointed. I tucked a stray lock of hair behind my ear, the corner of my mouth curling into a mocking smile as I entered the banquet hall. The once noisy space fell silent for a few seconds. Countless complex gazes converged on me, some filled with astonishment, others with wariness, and not a few of the noble young ladies who had once mocked me at high society gatherings now hurriedly retracted their disdain, replacing it with ingratiating smiles. Jiang Li, how dare you show your face here? A piercing female voice shattered the silence. Shen Man, holding Gu Qingzhou's arm, stepped out from the crowd. She wore heavy, meticulous makeup in an attempt to conceal her haggard appearance. Still dressed in a pure white, innocent-style dress, but in this high-stakes world of fame and fortune, she looked utterly insignificant and ordinary. Gu Qingju stood beside her, maintaining his usual cold demeanor, but his sunken eyes and tense jawline betrayed his current unease. I stopped in my tracks, raised an eyebrow, and looked at him, my tone dripping with sarcasm. President Gu, the security on this yacht seems to have been downgraded. Even those on the verge of bankruptcy can come up here for a breath of fresh air. Jiang Li, don't go too far. Gu Qingju took a step forward, shielding Shen Man, his voice hoarse and strained. The Gu Corporation hasn't fallen yet. The heart of the ocean tonight, I must have it. It's something I promised Xiao Man years ago, and it's also a symbol of the Gu family's reputation. If you have any conscience left, don't cause trouble here. Reputation. I laughed, my voice clear and crisp, ensuring everyone around could hear. Mr. Gu, a company that can't even pay its employees' salaries is talking about reputation. Isn't that a bit too extravagant? Moreover, using my money to buy diamonds for your mistress, that kind of promise I dare not endorse. Around us, faint, Mocking laughter erupted, and Jiyu Qingzhou's face instantly flushed as red as pig's liver. The auction quickly began. I had little interest in the items up for bid earlier, until the final piece, Ocean's Heart, appeared. It was a top-tier blue diamond weighing a full 30 carats, radiating a deep, enchanting light under the stage lights, exactly like the proud eyes Jiyu Qingzhou once had. Starting bid, 50 million. As soon as the auctioneer's words fell, Jiyu Qingzhou hurriedly raised her paddle, 60 million. His voice revealed a desperate determination. Shun Man tightly gripped the hem of his clothes, her eyes filled with greed and delusion. She needed this diamond too much. As long as Jiyu Qingzhou could still throw money around like trash in front of the public, it would prove to the outside world that the Jiyu group could still be saved, and her position as the future Mrs. Jiyu could remain secure. 1 billion. I indifferently raised the paddle in my hand, not even bothering to look up. The entire hall was in an uproar, doubling the price. This was no longer about buying jewelry, but a slap in the face. Jiyu Qingzhou turned to look at me, his gaze dark and gloomy. 110 million, 2 billion. I raised my paddle again, even taking an elegant sip of champagne. Jiang Li, have you gone mad? Jiyu Qingzhou gritted his teeth and growled, the veins on his temples bulging. 2 billion was likely all the emergency funds he could mobilize abroad at that moment. President Jiyu, why aren't you bidding anymore? I turned around, looking at him with a bright smile. Hasn't Miss Shen always wanted it? For the former President Jiyu, this amount of money must be just a drop in the bucket, right? Shen Man stood beside him, so anxious that tears were about to fall. She shook Jiyu Qingzhou's arm. Qingzhou, you can't let her take it, it's mine. Jiyu Qingzhou took a deep breath, trembling as he raised the bidding paddle again. 210 million, 300 million. Without any hesitation, I directly cut off his retreat. The entire school fell into a dead silence. The auctioneer's voice trembled. 300 million once, 300 million twice. Sold. Congratulations, Miss Jiang Le. Jiyu Qingzhou slumped into his chair, his entire body as if drained of all vitality. His last card, in this moment, had completely turned into a worthless scrap of paper. After the dinner party, on the balcony, the sea breeze was slightly chilly. I absent-mindedly played with the blue diamond in the velvet box, coldly watching Jiyu Qingzhou chase after me. Jiang Li, what exactly do you want before you'll let go? He rushed up to me, no longer as cold as before, speaking rapidly with a hint of pleading. 3 billion is just a number to you, but to me, it's my life. You deliberately lured me into raising the price, draining my last bit of cash flow. Do you really want to see tens of thousands of Jiyu Corporation employees lose their jobs? I walked to the edge of the balcony, right in front of him, and casually flung my hand. The blue diamond drew a brilliant arc in the air, then with a plop, it fell into the bottomless sea. Zhong Le, Jiyu Qingzhou panicked and rushed toward the railing, but could only watch a small splash rise from the sea's surface. Don't be so tense, it was just a high-quality fake moissanite diamond. The real heart of the ocean was donated by me to the Women's Protection Fund 3 minutes ago. I turned around, looking down at him coldly. Jiyu Qingzhou, you asked me what I wanted. I want you to experience this feeling too, the feeling of watching what you cherish most being destroyed right before your eyes, powerless to stop it. I pointed at the foundation powder from Shen Man, smudged on his shirt collar, wrinkling my nose in disgust. Just now you said it was for an employee, but every penny you embezzled from the Jiang Group over the past 3 years ended up in Shen Man's pocket. You say you love her, but you can't even see through the lowly tricks she uses to harm others. Jiyu Qingzhou, you didn't lose to me, you lost to your own sickening arrogance. That's right, I interrupted him, leaning close to his ear to whisper, don't go looking for Shen Man for comfort anymore. While you were holding up the license plate in there, she was secretly contacting Huating backstage, planning to sell the assets under her name and run away. After all, the pitiful, destitute state you're in now is something she can't bear to endure. Jiyu Qingzhou's pupils suddenly dilated, and he shook his head in disbelief. I took a step back, adjusted my formal attire, and then waved toward Mo Shun. Let's go. The air here has already been tainted by the stench of a loser. Leaving Jiyu Qingzhou standing alone on the empty deck, letting the cold sea breeze tousle his already disheveled hairstyle, The excruciating pain of falling from the peak into the abyss had only just begun, and this was merely the first page of my ledger. Before the remaining power of the island had even dissipated, the court of public opinion in Jiangcheng was already in an uproar. I sat in the office on the top floor of the Dawn Fund. My Shen pushed the door open and walked in, holding several freshly printed investigation reports in his hand. Outside the window, the giant electronic logo of the GU Group building flickered a few times, and finally, due to unpaid electricity bills being cut off, it plunged completely into darkness. President Jiang, Shun Man really couldn't sit still any longer. Mai Shen spread the photos on the table, showing Shun Man's silhouette entering and exiting several underground pawnshops late at night. She intended to exchange cash from the jewelry and real estate that Jiu Qingzhu gave her, but she didn't know that the ownership transfer procedures for those assets had been judicially frozen by us 3 days ago under the pretext of recovering illegally misappropriated property. I lifted the coffee cup, took a small sip, and the bitter aroma spread across the tip of my tongue. She must be anxious, of course. Someone used to lavish spending fears nothing more than returning to that damp, dark alley. And what about Jiu Qingzhu? He sat in the GU Corporation building all night until this morning, when he discovered that even his personal account had been frozen. Mo Chen paused, his tone tinged with a hint of sarcasm. Shun Man went back to argue with him loudly, blaming him for failing to protect the heart of the ocean at the auction. The GU family now is as lively as a cage of wild beasts. I set the cup down, my gaze cold. Since the fire is hot enough, it's time to bring up the old debt from 3 years ago. I want Shun Man to personally tear apart the last shred of trust Jiu Qingzhu has in her. 3 years ago, when I had just married into the GU family, Shun Man, in her desire to climb to a higher position, orchestrated a clumsy affair at the door scheme. She bribed an old servant of the Jiang family, drugged the tea I drank, and arranged for a down-and-out male model to enter my bedroom. Although Jiu Qingzhu arrived in time, preventing any actual harm, the seed of suspicion in his heart took root and sprouted from that moment, becoming the pretext for his 3 years of cold violence. Go find that old servant and bring her here, I gently commanded. An hour later, in a private tea room opposite the GU Group, I met the white-haired Mrs. Zhong. 3 years ago, she had taken $1 million from Shun Man and fled back to her hometown. Now, because her son had gambled and was being hunted by creditors, she had reached a dead end. Miss Jiang. No, President Jiang, please save my son. Mrs. Zhong knelt on the ground, sobbing uncontrollably. Back then, it was all Shun Man who forced me. She said if I helped her this once, I could return to my hometown and enjoy my old age in peace. Mrs. Zhong, I don't want to hear any nonsense. I threw a voice recorder in front of her. I want all the details from that night 3 years ago, including how Shun Man transferred the money to you, how she contacted the male model, and also, how she later threatened you to keep quiet. The red light on the voice recorder lit up, and the truth slowly unfolded in the air. At the same time, the PR team I had arranged began to exert its influence across the entire internet. The white moonlight image of the CEO of the GU Group collapses. Exposing the truth about the real and fake affair scandal in the wealthy family. These 2 keywords shot to the top of the search rankings like lightning. A meticulously edited video was leaked, containing not only Ms. Zhong's remorseful confession but also screenshots of messages between Shun Man and the male model from years ago, evidence I had actually obtained long ago. I was just waiting until Jiu Qingzhu was at her most desperate moment to deliver the final blow. The PR department of the GU Group, CEO GU, we can't suppress it anymore. The head of PR was drenched in sweat. The internet is now flooded with rumors about Miss Shun Man's past scandals, and there's also a status update that Miss Jiang forwarded. Jiu Qingzhu suddenly snatched the phone. I'll just post one sentence. 3 years of cold violence, exchanged for a lie full of loopholes. Jiu Qingzhu, your gaze is as cheap as your character. At that moment, the office door was pushed open, and Shun Man rushed in, crying, as if in a downpour. Qingzhu, it's fake. It was Jiang Li who bribed Sister Zhong to frame me. You have to believe me. I love you so much. How could I possibly do such a thing? Jiu Qingzhu looked at the woman who had once captivated him, feeling for the first time that she was so unfamiliar. Shun Man, The bank card ending in 0987 that Sister Zhong mentioned in the recording, was it opened under your mother's name, wasn't it? Jiyu Qingzhu's voice was as cold as if it had just been pulled from an ice cellar. Shen Man's cry suddenly choked off, her face as pale as a ghost. You are, slap. A resounding slap landed on Shen Man's face, the first time Jiyu Qingzhu, who prided himself on being a gentleman, had ever used force against an unarmed woman. Jiang Li was right. Jiyu Qingzhu looked at his own hand, letting out a bitter, sorrowful laugh. My judgment is truly worthless. For a deceitful woman like you, I personally destroyed Jiang Li, the one who truly protected the Jiyu family and also ruined the three-generation legacy of the Jiyu group. No, Qingzhu, listen to my explanation. Shen Man rushed over intending to hug his leg, but was kicked away hard by Jiyu Qingzhu. Get out, take your rotten debts and get out of here. This scene was clearly captured by the high-resolution remote camera I had set up across the street. Looking at the image on the surveillance screen, seeing Jiyu Qingzhu collapse, my heart remained completely calm. I even felt a bit bored. Chief Jiang, what's the next step? Mo Chen asked beside me. I turned off the surveillance screen, stood up, and walked toward the glass window. The stock of the Jiyu group has hit rock bottom. At 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, a large number of small shareholders will demand to withdraw their capital. The only chance for Jiyu Qingzhu to turn the situation around now is the ancestral share pledge right held by the Jiyu family. I curled my lips slightly. Mo Chen, prepare the cash. I want to officially take over the Jiyu group at tomorrow's shareholders meeting and make it the core subsidiary of Dawn. But Director Jiang, what if Jiyu Qingzhu stubbornly refuses to let go of the shares? He won't do that. I gazed into the distance, where countless lights were gradually illuminating the city, my tone resolute, because tomorrow morning, dozens of debt collectors will show up at his office. These are the high-interest loans he took out years ago to help Shen Man settle that sudden car accident. He has no other choice. The night was quiet and still, the entire city awaiting tomorrow's reckoning. I turned off all the lights in the office, leaving only one window open. From today onward, Shen Man's name will forever be nailed to the pillar of shame. While Jiyu Qingzhu will witness firsthand how the ex-wife he once despised and loathed step by step ascends to the throne, only to trample him into the mud. Revenge against someone has never been about killing them, but about letting them live with clarity. Watching themselves lose everything. At 9 in the morning, the scene outside the Jiyu Corporation building was no longer the usual parade of luxury cars. Instead, it was a dark crowd of debt collectors and the incessant flashing of red and blue police lights. Due to multiple overdue compensation payments abroad, court enforcement officials, accompanied by several staff members, were pasting a white seizure notice with black characters onto the gilded marble pillar in the lobby. This structure, once a symbol of Jiangcheng's commercial peak, now seemed even more ironic in the late autumn chill. Jiyu Qingzhu had locked himself in his office on the top floor, where the air conditioning had long since stopped working. The ashtray was piled high with cigarette butts. The CEO, who had once coldly demanded perfection down to the creases in his shirt, now had a face covered in stubble and eyes bloodshot with rage. Bang! The office door was violently pushed open. Special Assistant Zhu, his face deathly pale, his tie askew and disheveled. Without time to adjust it, his voice trembling to the point of being almost unrecognizable in tone, President Jiyu, we can't wait any longer. The enforcement police downstairs have already come up, and just now, the finance department received the final liquidation report. All our real estate, including the high-end Riverview apartment you're living in, along with the ancestral home, all of it has been seized. Jiyu Qingzhu abruptly raised his head, his usually calm eyes now filled with the ferocity of a cornered beast. Seized? Who has such authority? Those mortgage contracts clearly still have 3 months until maturity. It's a transfer of debt collection rights. Special Assistant Zhu slammed a stack of documents onto the desk, his fingertips ghostly white. It's a company called Li Ming Capital. Within the past 48 hours, they've bought out all our bank debts and private debts at prices above market value. Now, Miss Jiang, no, Jiang Li, is the largest creditor of the Jiyu Group. She has filed for early liquidation, citing severe asset deficiency to repay debts. With the risk of malicious transfer, Jiyu Qingju was as if struck by lightning, standing frozen in place. He had always thought that Jiang Li had only taken away those 30 billion, causing him to suffer a significant loss. He believed that as long as he could get through this period, he could still manage to recover based on his reputation, but he never expected that Jiang Li didn't just want to break up. She wanted to completely wipe out even his place of refuge. Where is she? Jiyu Qingju gritted his teeth and asked, his voice like a demon crawling out from the depths of hell. President Jiang is downstairs. She has purchased the priority auction rights for this building and is currently in the process of transferring the assets. Ko Ton-chu rushed out of the office like a madman. He pushed aside the executives trying to stop him, staggering toward the elevator, only to find it had long been out of service. He could only run down floor by floor via the emergency exit, the sound of his leather shoes pounding frantically and chaotically against the steps, each footstep trampling over his own crumbling dignity in front of the building. I stood holding a black umbrella, silently watching the Ko-Thai Group sign being slowly taken down by workers. Mac then stood beside me, handing me a document. Tong Jong, the old Ko family villa has been cleared out, the antiques and calligraphy inside, as per your instructions, have all been sent to a charity for auction. The proceeds will be used entirely to support the basic level employees laid off by Ko-Thai Group. As for Ko Ton-chu's limited edition supercars, they've all been sent to the scrap processing plant, handled quite well. I replied softly. At that moment, Jiyu Qingju rushed out of the main gate. He was stopped by security behind the boundary line, his expensive suit soaked with sweat, looking utterly pathetic. Jiang Li, stop right there, he screamed, his voice hoarse, with no trace of his former cold demeanor. Have you gone mad? That's the ancestral property of the Jiyu family. If you sell the old villa, where will my mother live? You've already taken 30 billion, isn't that enough? Do you have to leave me penniless, wandering the streets, before you're satisfied? I slowly turned around, looking at him through the thick curtain of rain. Jiyu Qingju, let me correct 2 points for you. I stepped down from the stairs, and the bodyguards automatically cleared a path for me. First, the ancestral villa wasn't sold, it was used to settle a debt. You, in order to open a studio abroad for Shin Man, recklessly used the ownership of the Jiyu family's ancestral villa as collateral. That contract was signed by you personally. Have you forgotten? Second, that 30 billion investment originally came from my personal Dawn Fund. Jiang Li, I was only taking back what was mine. How can you say I took it away? Ko Ton-chu was stunned. He looked at me, his eyes filled with absurd astonishment. What did you say? The Dawn Fund is yours alone. Otherwise, did you think that just relying on your arrogant decisions, the Ko family could really weather the financial storm from 2 years ago? I stepped in front of him, looking at his face, which had become ridiculous from shock. For the past 3 years, I've been both cooking soup for you at home and directing the Dawn from the study. To help you patch up the holes. Did you think you were a business genius? No, you were just a canary I raised in a greenhouse, except that this canary later wanted to peck its owner to death. Ko Ton-chu staggered. He gripped the railing beside him, his knuckles pale and almost transparent. So, you've been scheming against me from the start. No, it's just that when I loved you, I conveniently gave you a hand. I corrected myself, my voice cold and unruffled. Unfortunately, you're not worthy. Now, the cash flow of the Jiang family has been restored, while your Jiyu family doesn't even have a single brick left that belongs to you. Assistant Ju trembled as he ran over at this moment, handing over a legal document, his voice as faint as a mosquito's hum. President Jiyu, a court summons, because the debts under your name have exceeded 5 times the assessed value of your assets, and are also involved in contract fraud. You are now officially notified. You must immediately leave this building, and all your personal belongings will be forcibly confiscated. You don't even have a home anymore. Jiyu Qingju. I stepped closer to him, let out a soft laugh, my voice audible only to the two of us. Tonight, Jiang Cheng will turn cold. Remember to find a bridge to shelter from the wind. Oh, right. Shun Man just texted me, asking if I could arrange a job for her. Look, the woman you always protected has turned around and wants to beg this ex-wife for a scrap of food and a piece of clothing. Zhongli, you are truly cruel. Jiyu Qingju spat out these words through gritted teeth, his gaze gradually growing unfocused. The immense sensation of falling from the clouds into the mud finally completely crushed the last shred of his consciousness. He suddenly lunged forward, wanting to grab my collar, but was forcefully slammed face down into the puddle by Mo Shun with a heavy blow to his shoulder, the expensive tie soaked in the filthy rainwater. The once arrogant CEO Gu now lay flattened before the entrance of his own company. Like a stray dog drenched by the rain, I stepped over him, heading toward the special vehicle that had been waiting for a long time. Zhongli, I'll be back, don't think you've won, he roared madly behind me. I didn't even turn my head, just coldly ordered my Shun through the rearview mirror, notify the media. Change tomorrow's front page headline, the Gu Empire collapses. Former CEO hits rock bottom on the streets. Mysterious female billionaire emerges to settle the score. The wheels rolled through a puddle, splashing Gu Qingzhu with a coat of mud. This revenge feast has only just reached its climax. I want him to watch, clear-headed, as the power, wealth, and reputation he holds dear are chewed up bit by me, then spat straight into the trash. The newly renovated ancestral villa of the Jiang family was sparkling clean, with the late-blooming cherry blossoms in the courtyard in full, radiant bloom. I sat on the wicker chair on the balcony, watching my father enthusiastically direct the acquisition of a new project over the phone. Just 3 weeks ago, he was still a defeated man, bowing his head and making dozens of calls begging Gu Qingzhu for forgiveness. Now, not only has the Jiang family reclaimed the territory that was swallowed up by the Gu conglomerate, but their asset scale has even tripled. Lele, it's all thanks to you. My father put down the phone, his eyes slightly reddened. Before, I was old and foolish, thinking that marrying you off to the Gu family would secure a strong backing. Who would have thought it would push you into a pit of fire? Now, our Jiang family no longer needs to beg anyone. We ourselves have become the mountain. I smiled and was about to speak when the butler hurried in, his expression looking rather unpleasant. Miss, Gu Qingzhu. He's outside the door. He says he must see you even if it means death. Otherwise he'll dash his head and die right at the gate of our Jiang family home. I set down the porcelain teacup, my gaze cold. Dash his head and die. Someone as meticulously selfish as him values his life more than anyone. Mo Shun, let him in. I want to see what tricks this homeless dog can still bark out. 5 minutes later, Gu Qingzhu appeared before me. He no longer had the aloof, ethereal air he once did. The handmade leather shoes on his feet were clearly worn. The once 100,000 yuan suit on his body was wrinkled. His whole frame had noticeably thinned, and his eyes were sunken. Behind him followed 2 uniformed bodyguards, the last remnants of his hollow vanity. Zhongli, you finally agreed to meet me. Gu Qingzhu spoke first, his voice hoarse like sandpaper scraping against the ground. Say what you have to say quickly. My time is very valuable. I didn't even turn my head. Still gazing into the distant scenery, Gu Qingzhu strode over to stand in front of me, intending to grab my shoulder, but was coldly pushed away by Mo Shun. He let out a self-mocking laugh, then suddenly pulled out a crumpled stack of documents from his chest and slammed them onto the table. Zhongli, you can't be so heartless. My mother, because the old house was sealed off, has now developed a heart condition and is lying in a public hospital corridor. She was once your mother-in-law. Can you really stand by and watch her die? He gasped for breath, his eyes carrying a twisted hope. Just withdraw the freeze on the core assets of the Gu group. Let me liquidate a few overseas properties, and I'll sign the divorce papers immediately. From now on, Jiang City will have you, not me. I turned around, looking at him as if he were a madman. Gu Qingzhu, have you lost your mind? I stood up, gently smoothing the hem of my skirt. Your mother's heart attack was caused by Shun Man secretly taking her last bit of private money. As for unfreezing the assets, those properties now belong to tens of thousands of small shareholders and wronged creditors. I am merely the legal representative manager. You want to use the Jiang family's reputation to fill the Gu family's hole. You're thinking too highly of yourself. Jiang Li, don't push me. Gu Qingzhu suddenly pulled a fruit knife from his pocket, pointing it at his own wrist, his face fierce. If you don't help me, I'll harm myself right here. Tomorrow's newspaper headline will be Jiang family's young lady drives ex-husband to death. Let's see if your Dawn Fund can still go public. Such low-level moral blackmail. If it were 3 years ago, I might have actually softened, But now, I only find it laughable. Maction, call the police, and contact the mental hospital while you're at it, I coldly ordered at that moment. The door to the study behind me opened. Two men in black suits, carrying briefcases, stepped out. Mr. Gu, as you are suspected of intentionally embezzling assets from the Jiang Group 3 years ago, along with multiple acts of unfair competition, we, on behalf of MS, Jiang Li, are formally filing a civil lawsuit with criminal charges attached to the court. The speaker was the top criminal lawyer in Jiangcheng. His tone devoid of any warmth, the lawyer tossed a neatly bound folder of evidence at Jiyu Qingzhu's feet. This documents how you exploited your marital relationship to illegally steal Jiang Group's trade secrets and enticed the Jiang family patriarch to sign an unfair investment agreement. Mr. Jiyu, this is no longer a divorce dispute, this is a criminal trial. Ko Ton-chu froze, the fruit knife in his hand clattering to the ground. You've been preparing this for a long time. He looked at me with an expression of disbelief. Ko Ton-chu, did you think I've been hiding in my room painting for the past 3 years just to paint flowers? I stepped closer, gritting my teeth with each word. I've been copying every dirty page of your books, copying every piece of evidence of how you plotted against the Jiang family. You always said I didn't understand business, that I was only fit to be a decorative accessory dependent on you. Now, this accessory will personally send you to prison. I turned around and nodded to my father. Cha stepped forward, his gaze icy as he looked at Jiyu Qingzhu, young master of the Jiyu family. Back then when you begged to marry my daughter, you swore you would protect her completely, yet behind our backs, you sought to devour our Jiang family. Now, this is what you call the cycle of karma. Jiyu Qingzhu collapsed limply to the ground. He looked at the faces that once bowed and scraped before him, now filled with disgust and murderous intent all around, and finally realized that the Jiang family was no longer the soft tomato he could squeeze at will. Jiang Li, I beg you, for the sake of our 3 years as husband and wife, affection, I cut him off, signaling the bodyguards to drag him out like trash. When you cut off the Jiang family's financial chain for Shenman, all that remained between us was hatred. Jiyu Qingzhu, your only path now is to surrender. Perhaps the iron bars of a prison cell will help you see clearly just how much your so-called aloof arrogance is worth. Let go of me, Jiang Li, you truly are a vicious woman. Jiyu Qingzhu's screams gradually faded into the distance until they disappeared beyond the manor gate. I sat back down in the wicker chair and picked up the slightly cooled teacup. Motion stepped forward and asked softly, President Jiang, are you really going to send him in? His current debt is already enough to ruin his entire life. Not enough. I watched the last of the cherry blossom petals fall, my gaze profound. He hasn't yet witnessed the most heartbreaking scene. Is Shenman over there ready? Everything is ready. As soon as he steps into the prison, the key evidence in Shenman's hands will be immediately submitted to the court. I took a sip of tea, and finally, a genuine smile from the bottom of my heart appeared at the corner of my mouth. Revenge is not destruction. Revenge is settlement. I want Jiyu Qingzhu to discover in despair that the love, power, and glory he has been most proud of in his life are merely a magnificent funeral built on a foundation of lies. In the visiting room of the prison, the air was filled with the mixed smell of cheap disinfectant and rust. Through the thick bulletproof glass, I met again the former CEO Jiyu who was once so arrogant. Jiyu Qingzhu wore an earthy yellow vest, his hair cut in a jagged mess, his once cold and proud eyes now bloodshot, anxiously staring at me as I entered the door, and in the interrogation seat beside him, Shenman was curled up in her chair, sobbing like a pear blossom drenched in rain. The pair of silver bracelets on her wrists looked even more ironic under the dim, hazy light. Jiang Li, you finally came to see me. Jiyu Qingzhu suddenly rushed to the front of the glass, his voice so hoarse it was almost unrecognizable. You came to save me, right? I knew it. You couldn't be that heartless. As long as you withdraw the lawsuit, as long as you help me cover that illegal income gap, once I'm out, I'll definitely start over with you. This damn Shenman, she wants to pin all the blame on me. I sat across from him, leisurely taking out from my bag a stack of old, yellowed photos and some outdated bank statements, not responding to his words at all. Jiyu Qingzhu, you've always thought Shenman was your lifesaver, your only comfort during that kidnapping, haven't you? I pressed the photo against the glass, a cruel smile curling at the corner of my mouth. Then take a look, who is the woman in this photo, meeting privately with? The leader of the kidnappers. Jiyu Qingzhou's pupils suddenly contracted. He stared wide-eyed at the youthful figure in the photo. Though blurred, those brows and eyes were unmistakably Shen Man's. It can't be, little man, to save me, has such a long scar on her leg, he muttered in a daze, not even daring to turn and look at the trembling woman in the next room. That scar, she carved it on herself. I cut through his delusion with a cold laugh. Jiyu Qingzhou, you're truly pitiful, for this so-called lifesaver. You forced me, the Jiang family's young lady, to be your unpaid nanny for 3 years. For her, you personally cut off my father's lifeline. But the truth is, Shen Man's father was the mastermind behind the Jiyu family's bankruptcy back then, the one who drove your father to jump to his death. No, you're talking nonsense. Jiyu Qingzhou frantically slammed his hand against the glass, producing dull thudding sounds. I'm talking nonsense. I threw the financial investigation report that had been forgotten for 20 years onto the table. Shen Man approached you not out of love at all, but because her father feared you would rise again and seek revenge. She manipulated you in the palm of her hand, making you like a fool, personally raising the daughter of your enemy, and even for her sake, nearly destroyed the Jiang family, the ones who truly loved you. The neighbor Shen Man, hearing this, suddenly let out a piercing laugh, no longer pretending to be a delicate white flower. She raised her head, her gaze full of resentment toward Jiyu Qingzhou. Jiyu Qingzhou, Jiang Li is right. Do you think you're some loyal CEO? You're just an easily fooled idiot, watching you torment Jiang Li for my sake, watching you gradually transfer the Jiyu family assets into my name. Do you know how thrilled I was? My father died in prison, and I wanted to make sure your Jiyu family line was completely wiped out. Shen Man, I'll kill you. Jiyu Qingzhou's eyes were bloodshot, roaring like a trapped beast, but he was firmly restrained by the judicial police behind him. I stood up, coldly looking down at this former couple tearing each other apart. Jiyu Qingzhou, this is truly killing with the heart. I approached the voice transmission hole, my voice gentle as a ghost. You always thought Jiang Li was your burden, but in reality, I was your shield. Now that the shield is gone, the rest of your life will be spent in regret. Regret for having personally killed your salvation, regret for having personally nurtured your sworn enemy. I walked out of the prison, the bright sunlight outside making it slightly difficult for me to open my eyes. An hour later, I drove to the private vineyard belonging to the Dawn Foundation. Macthan had been waiting here for a long time. On the table was a bottle of 1982 Lafite wine and several signed and completed property transfer receipts. Chief Jiang, in order to protect herself, Tham Man revealed all of Ko Tonchu's illegal accounting records. From over the years, combined with the evidence we provided, Ko Tonchu will face at least 15 years in prison. Macthan poured wine for me, speaking in a leisurely tone. We have recovered all the remaining shares of the Ko family group at the floor price. From today, Zhong Ton will no longer have the Ko family, only Bin Min. I raised my wine glass, gently swirling the deep red liquid, listening to the faint, almost imperceptible sound of police sirens echoing from afar in the garden of the wine estate. A few months ago, the decorations bearing the Ko family crest had been scraped clean and replaced with the Jiang family emblem. The thrill of revenge surged in my chest, yet in that moment, it became strangely calm. Mo Chen, tell me, if Jiyu Qingzhou hadn't chosen Shen Man back then, would we have what we have today? I gazed at the sprawling grapevines outside the window and asked casually, President Jiang, there are no what ifs. Mo Chen looked at me seriously. Even without Shen Man, given Jiyu Qingzhou's arrogance, he couldn't have tolerated a wife smarter than himself. What he wanted was dependence. While you were born to be the queen who controls the entire game, I smiled. Yes, revenge isn't about lingering love, but about completely severing that despicable past. Burn everything related to Jiyu Qingzhou in the estate. I drained my glass in one gulp, the wine sliding down my throat with a tingling, exhilarating sensation. Starting tomorrow, I'll let all of Jiang Cheng see just how high Jiang Li, free from the title of Mrs. Jiyu, can truly stand. The sun set below the horizon, and night was about to fall. But for me, this was the prelude to a brilliant dawn. Early winter in Jiangcheng. The chill was already biting. Today marked a turning point for the city's business community. Outside the former headquarters building of the GU Group, the clamor of the crowd was overwhelming, and media reporters with all kinds of cameras and video equipment nearly blocked the entire street. The golden plaque that once symbolized the century-old glory of the GU family was nowhere to be seen, replaced instead by 4 bold, radiant characters carved in redwood, gleaming under the sunlight. Dawn Center. I changed into a custom-made, snow-white suit, draped a matching cashmere coat over it, and was escorted by Mo Shin and a group of bodyguards dressed in black as I slowly walked up the red carpet. Look, it's Jong Le. No, we should call her Chairman Jong now. My goodness, she actually did it. In just 3 months, she completely swallowed up the Ko family business. I heard she's going to announce a plan today that will shake the entire city. I stood on the high ceremonial platform, looking down at the crowded heads below. Mac then leaned close to my ear and whispered, Chairman Jong, Ko Ton-chu in prison requested a live video call. After being refused, he went crazy and smashed the TV in the common room. Also, among the creditors gathered outside, there's an old friend mixed in. I followed Mo Shin's gaze. Beside the barrier outside the ceremony stage, a hunchbacked man with a grimy face was desperately trying to push his way in. He wore an old, filthy military jacket so dirty its original color was unrecognizable. It was a piece of protective work clothing dug out from the warehouse after the GU Group collapsed. That was GU Qingju, because the amount of money involved was too large and the evidence was clear. While awaiting the final sentencing, he was allowed to be released on bail, on the condition that he surrender all his passports and be supervised by his creditor, and his creditor at that moment was me. I did not order the bodyguards to drive him away. Instead, I spoke into the microphone, my voice cold and resolute, echoing through every corner of the square. Everyone, today is not only the inauguration of Bin Min Center. I, Jong Le, officially announced the establishment of the Bin Min Women's Career Development Fund, the initial investment capital of 10 billion. Dong all comes from the surplus assets after the liquidation of the Ko Thai Group. This money will be used to support women who have suffered injustice in their careers and marriages but still yearn for awakening. Beneath the stage, thunderous applause erupted. I looked at Ko Ton-chu from afar. He stood frozen in place, raising his head to gaze at me on the dazzling stage as if beholding a deity. CEO Ko, how does it feel? I turned toward the camera, smiling with an extremely elegant yet cruel expression. You once said that the Jong family's money was your money. Now, your money has become the stepping stone for women everywhere to pursue freedom. I think this is perhaps the most meaningful thing you have ever done in your life. After the ribbon-cutting ceremony concluded, I declined all dinner invitations and walked down the steps alone. Just as I was about to get into the car, GU Qingju, with a sudden burst of blind force, broke through the crowd and lunged forward, collapsing in front of my car door. Jiang Li, please save me. He clung to my car wheel, his fingernails caked with black grime. Those creditors, they want to chop off my hand. That bitch Shen Man, she signed all those illegal fundraising contracts in my name. Now I owe hundreds of millions in private debt. I beg you, for the sake of our 3 years as husband and wife, give me a job, even if it's cleaning toilets. I stopped and looked down at him from above. The cold, aloof man who once considered a glance from him a favor now writhed like a worm, even wanting to kiss the tip of my shoe. Clean the bathroom. I let out a light laugh, taking a disgusted step back. GU Qingju, my company doesn't take in trash. As for that debt of hundreds of millions, it's the joint liability guarantee you personally signed to win Shen Man's favor. The law is fair. It won't erase your signature just because you're crying and wailing now. Jiang Li, you can't be so heartless. My mother is still in the hospital waiting for surgery money. I paid for your mother's surgery long ago. I opened the car door, my tone as calm as if discussing the weather. After all, it was the Jiang family's upbringing. But after paying that sum, I signed a legal declaration. From now on, the GU family and I, Jiang Li, are completely unrelated in life, death, or illness. I got into the car, and Ma Chen started the engine. The car slowly drove away, and I looked through the rearview mirror to see dozens of burly men with unfriendly expressions closing in. That was the high-interest loan GU Qingju took from an underground bank years ago to show off his influence. The pitiful cries were blocked outside the bulletproof glass. "Chief Jiang, there's news about Shunman too," my Shun reported in a low voice while driving. She was intercepted while trying to flee across the border, because the amount of money involved is too large, and it's also related to attempted murder, specifically, the poisoning attempt on you 3 years ago. It's estimated she'll be in there until her hair turns gray before she gets out. I leaned back in the soft leather seat, closed my eyes, and felt the alternating dim and bright light as the car passed through the tunnel. The exhilarating sensation of revenge in this grand settlement had reached its peak, then instantly transformed into an unprecedented clarity. Jiyu Qingzhu thought he had destroyed the Jiang family's capital chain, but he didn't know that he had personally shattered the virtuous wife shackles on me. He thought I was a pawn in his hand, but he didn't realize he was merely a whetstone on my path to the throne. "President Jiang, where do we go next?" "To the airport." I opened my eyes, my gaze fixed on the distant horizon outside the airplane window. "The opening time for the global capital market is approaching. Jiangcheng is too small, Mengshan. The battlefield that belongs to me has only just begun." Outside the car, the large screen at Dawn Center is repeatedly playing my speech. The phrase "she is the king of her own world" is being broadcast through the airwaves, reaching every corner of this city. On the top floor of the Dawn building, the floor-to-ceiling glass wall captures the bustling prosperity of Jiangcheng. It is already late at night, and the neon lights intertwine into a shimmering golden river. While I stand at the source of that river, my Shun knocks and enters, holding a final verdict in his hand, his expression calm. "President Jiang, Jiyu Qingzhu's judgment has been issued. Multiple charges combined, 15 years in prison, 5 years of political rights deprivation. The last sum of money under his name has also been forcibly deducted from his salary to compensate the affected employees. When I saw him off, he kept calling your name, saying he wanted to see you one last time, to ask for an answer." I turn around, take that heavy piece of paper, and casually toss it into the paper shredder. The answer: 3 years ago, in the heavy rain, when he hung up on the Jiang family's desperate call for help, the answer was already written. The paper shredder emitted a soft hum, tearing the 3 characters Jiyu Qingzhu into meaningless scraps of paper. "What about Shunman?" I asked softly. "She got into a conflict with someone in prison, had her face disfigured, and is now being held in the psychiatric evaluation unit." Mo Chen paused briefly. "She said the biggest regret of her life wasn't scheming against you, but failing to take your life during that affair at the door incident." I smiled faintly and shook my head. "She still doesn't understand. Taking a life is too simple. Making her stay lucid and watch the beauty and ambition she was so proud of turn to dust, that is the highest form of punishment." Early the next morning, I appeared in the prison's visitation room. This was the last time I would deal with the garbage of my past. Through the glass, Jiyu Qingzhu looked as old as a 60-year-old man. He trembled as he picked up the phone, tears streaming down his face. "Lily, I was wrong. I was truly wrong. If I hadn't believed Shunman back then, if I could have seen your goodness as clearly as I do now, would we have had children by now? Would we still be together?" I looked at his face, distorted by regret. Yet my heart remained as calm as the surface of a dead lake, not even stirred by a hint of vengeful pleasure. "Jiyu Qingzhu, you still don't understand even now," I spoke coldly, my voice clear. "Your mistake wasn't believing Shunman, but the arrogance ingrained in your very bones. You thought women were merely your accessories, and the Jiang family was just a stepping stone for you. Even without Shunman, you would have betrayed this marriage for other temptations, because someone like you only loves yourself. No, I love you." He frantically shook his head. "Love me?" I stood up, adjusting the turquoise ring on my hand. "Love how you personally cut off my family's path to survival. Love how you humiliated me in front of outsiders. Jiyu Qingzhu, don't tarnish the word love anymore. Now, you're not even qualified to be my opponent. After this meeting, there will no longer be a Mrs. Jiyu in this world, only President Jiang." I hung up the phone neatly, ignoring the frantic pounding sounds he made against the glass behind me, and without looking back, I walked through the heavy iron door. As I stepped out of the prison gate, the first snowflake of winter gently landed on my shoulder. Mac then stood waiting by the Rolls-Royce, opening the car door for me. "President Jiang, the private jet to New York is ready." The semiconductor acquisition over there has encountered some obstacles. The other party's board of directors believes a female player is too risky. I stepped into the car, took the laptop from my bag, and the screen displayed the complex curves of the global stock market dancing. Risky? Then I'll show them what real capital harvesting looks like. I closed the laptop, my gaze fixed on the distance. Mac then, the drama in Jiangcheng has come to an end. Jiang Li's future doesn't need revenge to embellish her life. I want every financial center on this planet to bear the name Dawn. The car glided smoothly toward the airport, leaving behind the prison and that decaying marriage. Gradually shrinking into an invisible speck, I gaze at the woman in the car window's reflection with a cold, sharp look, calm and confident. I am no longer anyone's shadow, no longer anyone's salvation. I have become my own light in this high-stakes game called marriage. Jiyu Qingzhu lost money and freedom, while I won back my entire life. The wind on the top floor of the Liming building always seems to carry a bone-chilling cold. I stand before the office window, looking down at the city lights of Jiangcheng. Ma Shen gently knocks and enters, holding a final court judgment stamped in red, his tone unusually soft. President Jiang, it's all over. Jiyu Qingzhu has been convicted on multiple charges. Sentenced to 15 years in prison, with all personal assets confiscated. When he was taken away, he frantically pounded on the police van's window, screaming to see you one last time, saying he still has the core ledger about Shen Man's father from back then and wants to hand it over to you personally. I turned around, took that verdict, not even bothering to flip through it, and directly tossed it into the shredder beside me. Account books. I listened to the monotonous grinding sound coming from the shredder, the corner of my mouth curling into a mocking smile. He wanted to use that as leverage, begging me to grant him medical parole. Someone like Jiyu Qingzhu, even in death, is still scheming. I obtained that account book 3 months ago through a foreign hacker. Otherwise, how could Shen Man have exposed her flaws so quickly? My Chen nodded slightly. Shen Man, in prison, due to disfigurement and mental collapse, has developed severe self-harm tendencies. She had someone pass on a message, saying that the greatest regret of her life is not harming the Jiang family, but rather, 3 years ago at that banquet, not directly making you disappear. She's still that foolish. I picked up the cold espresso on the table, downing it in one gulp. Death is a release. But staying sober to watch herself sink into the mire, to see the man she once manipulated now bowing in submission before me, that is the cruelest torment for a gambler like her. The next morning, I drove to the prison. This wasn't to say goodbye, but to completely sweep away the last speck of dust named Jiyu Qingzhu from my life. Behind the cold, bulletproof glass, Jiyu Qingzhu wore a dirt yellow prison uniform, his hair shaved short, his entire body withered like a dried-up tree. Trembling, he picked up the receiver, tears immediately welling up, his voice so hoarse it was unrecognizable as the once celebrated CEO Jiyu. Lele, you came to see me, I knew it, you still love me, don't you? He banged on the glass, his eyes revealing a near-frantic hope. I don't need that 30 billion anymore. I don't need the Jiyu family either. Just use the Jiang family's connections to get me out, and we can start over. Okay, we can go abroad, we can have our own children. I watched his performance in silence, as if watching a terrible clown dance on stage. Jiyu Qingzhu, you still haven't realized it to this day. I spoke coldly, my voice transmitted through the intercom, chilling to the bone. What you lost was not Shen Man's schemes, nor my revenge, but the utterly disgusting arrogance in your very nature. You thought Jiang Li was merely your appendage, the Jiang family just a source of nourishment for you to expand your territory. You have never loved anyone, you only love yourself, standing high above the clouds, pointing at the landscape. No, you were deceived by Shen Man. You are the victim, he screamed frantically. Victim? I stood up, gently smoothing the wrinkles on my suit. When you blocked my father's lifeline. For Shen Man, did you ever think he was a victim? When you coldly watched me beg you to sign in the pouring rain, did you ever think I was a victim? Jiyu Qingzhu, this is not called being a victim, it's called retribution. I stepped closer to the glass, speaking to him word by word. After this meeting, Jiang City will no longer have a Mrs. Jiyu, only Jiang Li. The rest of your life will be spent behind bars, chewing over this regret again and again, while I will stand at a height you can never reach, watching you decay. I decisively hung up the phone, ignoring the frantic screams and sobs on the other end, pushed the door open, and stepped out. The sunlight outside the prison was slightly dazzling, with the first snowflakes of the season quietly falling. Mac Shun was waiting beside the Rolls-Royce and opened the car door for me. President Jiang, the private jet to London is ready. The energy acquisition deal there has encountered some issues. The other party believes that, as a fund led by a woman, our approach is too aggressive. I got into the car, opened my laptop, and the shimmering screen displayed real-time updates of the global capital market trends. Tough. I closed my laptop, my gaze fixed on the distant horizon, exuding an air of disdain for the world. Then let them witness firsthand what a true capital harvesting machine looks like. Mac Shun, the stage of Jiangcheng is too small. My battlefield has only just begun. The wheels rolled over the thin layer of snow, smoothly heading toward the airport. I watched the scenery outside the window recede at a dizzying speed, recalling Jiang Li from 3 years ago, a timid person who only thought about family, like looking at a distant, unfamiliar shadow. Revenge is not the end, but the prelude to awakening. In this pursuit named marriage, Jiyu Qingzhu lost money and freedom. While I reclaimed my entire life, I no longer need to wait for anyone to turn back, because I am the light.